welcome. We're at ProMat 2025 and it's day 3. I'm Lori Kesten. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Alliances at Automatic. And today I have an old friend in the industry, Jeremy Hudson. Jeremy is with Open Sky Group. They're a partner of ours and someone we've worked with a long time. Today we want to talk a little bit about what a multi-agent orchestration platform is, as well as the type of services Automatic offers. I'll let Jeremy go ahead and get started, tell you a little bit about what Open Sky Group does, and then we'll go into the fun subject of automation.
My name's Jeremy Hudson. I'm a Vice President of Client Services with Open Sky Group. Open Sky Group has been in this space for 19 years now, implementing warehouse management, transportation management, and labor management solutions. And then obviously, as we've grown as a company and evolved with the industry, man, we're so excited to work more and more with solutions like Automatic on robotic integration and just orchestration of different automation solutions in this space. So we couldn't be happier about this partnership, and we love what this tool is capable of. And obviously, these topics are just coming up on every project we see these days. And so really excited to kind of launch into a few topics around this orchestration topic.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when we decided to launch Automatic, it's been about 3 years ago, we had all been in this industry for a long time, and the one thing that was always missing was this type of technology that would allow all of the automation choices to work well together. So in other words, there seemed to be something missing, the ability to use software to actually make sure we didn't have islands of automation. So how do we make sure that everything works as efficiently in real time? That's the key, is in real time. So this is far more than just integration between pieces of automation equipment. So the key is and I think that, Jeremy, you may be finding that as you're advising companies on which types of automation make sense they should be considering, I think the one thing that always ends up happening eventually is, okay, that these all sound good, but how are we going to make it all work together? Can you tell us a little bit about the journey that people are making once they're overly excited about automation equipment? What comes next?
No, I think that, obviously, the easiest way to understand the big picture of things is at a show like ProMat, right? Where you see so many different automation solutions that have different purposes, right? And, you know, if you look at, Lori, I think you and I first came to ProMat together 8 years ago. It was
I've been here
2017, right? And so when we were here that long ago, right, I mean, most of our projects and most of even the automation here was single intent, single purpose, right? And, you know, as we've done more projects out there in reality, we've seen customers kind of evolve with their automation journeys, right? And so where we used to just see clients implement maybe an ASRS, right? Or maybe a goods to person solution, right? Now we're seeing our clients certainly look at linking multiple solutions together, right? And, you know, it's interesting in our space specifically because admittedly, we're very WMS centric at Open Sky Group. We always have been. A lot of our folks come from WMS backgrounds. And so, you know, I think that something that's interesting for us is if you just ask a WMS person, hey, what's the easiest way to integrate this, and this? They're going to go with the siloed approach. They're going to go with point-to-point solutions, just, okay, we'll send a socket communication, or maybe we'll do some APIs or HTTP, and, you know, we'll just send messages directly to and from that bot, right? But as we've seen companies attempt to do that and, you know, proliferate these siloed integrations, and I think you referred to them as islands, right? You end up with a very kind of cobbled together high-tech solution, which is a shame because you've invested in all of these advanced, very high-tech solutions, but ultimately what you've given yourself is a very archaic way of tying those solutions together, right? Which is just, it's a disservice to clients. And so, you know, obviously we've seen that and we've said, listen, we do need to be more creative around what type of software solutions are out there because WMSs alone do not solve this problem, right? If you're talking to a WMS vendor and they say, hey, listen, we can make all your automation work. Absolutely true, that is a fact. They can make all the automation work, right? But in terms of orchestrating the automation, getting it all to work together in a fluid manner and an efficient manner, that's where WMSs, unfortunately, they just, listen, WMSs have been telling people what to do for the last 50 years, okay?
Yes,
they've got that down telling robots what to do, that's a little bit more progressive
Or
for them.
conveyor systems,
And they're
for
just,
that matter.
yeah, exactly.
Or
And they're,
diverters, right?
exactly. PLCs, whatever, right? They're
Yeah.
just, they haven't been telling those what to do nearly as
Right.
long, right? And it hasn't been their focal point. And so that's where a solution like Automatic certainly plays a larger role.
Yeah, and that brings up another subject. I think what's interesting is that it's really not their job to do that anyway,
Yeah.
right? And so Automatic is a software company, and what we offer is a software platform. But we're completely agnostic, meaning that we are not tied to any other solution. This is what we do. And that is really being agnostic or neutral, like Switzerland, is what is a value. Because what happens is that then our end user customers have the autonomy to pick whatever technologies they want, whatever solutions, not only today but in the future. In addition, I think it's interesting too that what we're finding is a lot of companies that are early in their automation journey are actually looking at putting our solution in place and have done so, even though they're only using one form, besides the WMS, one form of automation, because what they think and have figured out is they want to make sure that this foundation is in place. It's agnostic, they're not tied into anything, and then as they add equipment, the foundation is already there, and frankly, it's quite simple to add it and the workflows associated with this new equipment. So that's another thing, as this is all evolving, has become apparent.
Yeah, and I think it's just forward thinking, right? I mean, obviously, if you own one car and you buy a house and you say, I'm just going to have a one-car garage, that's probably not the best forethought, right, for a growing family, right? And so, I mean, it's very similar with your warehouse. I always advise my clients, listen, you may only be looking at an ASRS now or a goods to person now, right? But long term, right? What's your journey look like? What could you add? Where is the industry going, right? And so as we see solutions that are capable of not only, you know, presenting picks to users, but then also obviously moving those picks eventually or adding an arm to perform those picks eventually, right? Those are the types of things where you really, you want to be progressive about how easily those could be implemented in the future because, you know, obviously in future state, you're going to have to justify to your leadership team, et cetera, hey, we'd like to add these, but we're going to have to do this massive, you know, effort to kind of integrate in later. It's much better to kind of start with a foundation now of a modular platform that could be integrated to multiple solutions, right? And limit that time to value later, right? And so, I mean, I think there's just a massive benefit to kind of being more holistic about how you think about your software solutions and how it's going to tie all these other hardware solutions together.
Yeah. So I think for today, I mean, Jeremy and I could talk about this probably forever. So, but for today, I appreciate you stopping by and spending time with us and kind of speaking with our audience about what's happening and what's new and exciting in our space. Thank you for participating and joining me, and that concludes our podcast for today.
Yeah, thanks, Lori.